after all this decade-long foreshadowing, we're finally onto who Xal'atath actually is. We have not yet seen her true form, but the new alpha information finally paints a pretty clear picture of what is really going on. Despite us learning about the very likely new 5th old god in Khazakar, she isn't an old god, and she is serving the Void Lord Dimensius, the guy that is coming for us in Midnight. She is a specific tool of the Void that they bring for the fine and the finishing work. She very likely already destroyed one planet, the ethereal homeworld, in the past that started giving the same radiant song that Azeroth is now giving to us before it was doomed. We learned that she was given a weapon called VOIDSONG in the past to complete this purpose, and that might be exactly what is creating the radiant song, the VOIDSONG we are now getting. So speculation aside, let us look at the most recent hints that finally paint a pretty clear picture on who this villain actually is. Actually playing WoW on your phone is possible with Awesome, this video is sponsored. You can not only check in on your characters, but you can do things like pet battles and even fully play the game. Awesome allows you to control a computer through your phone completely free, available for Windows, iOS, and Android. It's super easy to use. Check out my link in the description, download the PC and the phone app, and just simply connect it. The free version is great and you can control a desktop, transfer files and such, but the real deal is the game version with custom keyboards for various games other than just WoW, and you can enjoy AFK gaming at any time, anywhere with sound. Make sure to use my code Dalaran to get 7 days completely free only for the first 200 people. They also got a smart lock to turn off your PC at any time, as well as hot sales with up to 40% off on Pro and Game versions. Check out Awesome. So we've been going back and forth on who Xal'atath is. She's this, she said that, she whispered that. Some people were even worried that she's becoming the jailer with her 200 IQ plans. So it all started honestly getting a little bit tiring with new hints in a new direction every 2 weeks, but now we're finally onto something that is actually concrete. We haven't exactly seen her true form yet, where it's 100% confirmed like this is the image of primordial Xal'atath, but we're about 90% there, and it is pretty easy to now paint a picture of what is really going on. To give it to you straight, it essentially boils down to her essentially being the Silver Surfer. I'm personally not too familiar with Marvel and DC, but this is definitely something that Blizzard would do. Essentially 90% of WoW lore is inspired by other bits of popular fiction. The oldest Xal'atath speculation we've had for years was that she was either a part of Yashraj or the 5th old god, but that has essentially been completely debunked. Now, we have potentially discovered the 5th old god in the alpha in Khazakar, but that is very likely not Xal'atath, but a new character we might soon learn about. An interview right around the World Soul Saga was announced said that Xal'atath isn't an old god, she's older than the old god, she doesn't really like them or she distrusts them. However, it made it really confusing as her whispers on one hand referred to the old gods as her brethren and how they had together corrupted Deathwing, but other hints she starts hating on Azeroth, she just calls him a loser. With other hints it made it obvious that she serves the Void Lords and is below them, so we kinda pegged her somewhere beneath the old gods and right above or right around the old gods, and now with a ton of new info from Dragonflight and the Warbidian Alpha, we can actually tie this together. So it all really comes down to the Void Lords, in particular the Void Lord Dimensius, the Old Devouring, whom she serves directly. I'm not gonna bother you here with a 10-minute lore lesson on the Void Lords, as you probably already know everything there is about them, but an interesting thing to point out is that there are multiple Void Lords. We don't know how many, could be 2, could be 10, but what we did learn is that much like all chaotic beings of the Void, they don't exactly work together. It's like an even bigger old god relationship because, as you may know, they were the Black Empire, but they also destroyed themselves and they might have even killed that 5th old god in Khazakar. Some other interviews even hinted that they might have rebelled against their creators, the Void Lords, and were doing their own thing, which might be why Xal'atath was brought into Azeroth. Now, of course, the key to learning all there is about Xal'atath is in the ethereals that are at this point so obviously going to be the major characters of the entire World Soul Saga. They're an extremely intelligent and advanced society that lived on the world of Kadesh that got invaded by Xal'atath's master Dimensius, the Old Devouring. As they were so advanced, they managed to resist for quite a while, but ultimately Dimensius just ended up bathing their planet with void energies. Now, this lore just got an update in the Warbidian Alpha that now created gigantic new implications. According to the ethereals, Kadesh started giving them about the same vision and the radiant song that Azeroth is giving to us now. They didn't heed the call, and when they decided to take it seriously, it was too late, and since then, a significant part of them vowed to bring the fight to Dimensius to get revenge directly, which is exactly what is happening, as in Dragonflight they started appearing and following us on Azeroth, and now they're actually coming here, and Locust Walker is one of the main characters that is now in the opening cinematics of the War Within. Now that is cool and all, but where does Xal'atath come in here exactly? Well, with this hint, it seems very likely that the Ethereals are familiar with this Harbinger, because she also came to Karesh and played a part in destroying their planet and advancing the mission of Dimensius. Now, what this Radiant Song even is, we don't know. It could literally just be a bait of Xal'atath trying to bring us to one place as a distraction tactic, or it could really be the Whisper of the World Soul. If it truly is the Whisper of the World Soul, this could seriously be a huge lore thing, because that would mean Karesh also had a World Soul that was successfully converted into the Void, which means the Void Lords might already have that Void Titan that they have been so desperate to get. Maybe not as powerful as the Azeroth Void Titan, but it could now be a significant weapon of the Void Lords we could be soon discovering. However, why exactly are we connecting Xal'atath to Dimensius? I mean, what is the actual evidence here? Realistically, it is for two reasons. One is that the only Void Lord we can actually see and that we know the name of is Dimensius the Old Devouring. That is because, as you may remember, we had actually encountered this guy back on Outland in TBC, and he was literally just a tiny little mob. Like, no one would guess that this would become one of the main villains of the Warcraft universe. The thing is, the Void Lords can't manifest themselves in the material plane, and that is why he was a tiny little avatar, which is why he was so easily defeated. Well, when Xal'atath was in the Blade, she told us we had only seen the faint echoes of her master, and this is the guy we saw. The other more concrete hint that connects Xal'atath and Dimensius comes from Dragonflight and this Void Hermit guy that is obviously foreshadowing, as he was just added with this new dialogue near the Sword of Sargeras. So we got this weapon called VOIDSONG, and we were told that it was given to Xal'atath the Harbinger at the height of the Black Empire on Azeroth so that she can fulfill her purpose that was not revealed at the time. Keep in mind, the name of the weapon is VOIDSONG. Very likely something that would influence the dreams of Azeroth and create the Radiant Song we are getting now from Azeroth. Also, remember the whispers from the old gods, our dreams, our song. She sings beneath the surface. Why this quote is significant is because it means that Xal'atath was in direct contact with Dimensius. He entrusted her with the mission. It confirms it was Dimensius that wants to corrupt Azeroth, and it also shows us that she was present herself on Azeroth back during the Black Empire peak. Keep in mind, the Black Empire peak was right before the Titans invaded, and we were told the Titans essentially stopped these guys last minute, right before they had managed to corrupt Azeroth. By all accounts, the old gods seem to be the machinery, and it seems like Xal'atath is the one that was sent to complete the job and to kinda do the fine work. When all hell broke loose, when the Titans came in, she probably either went into hiding or escaped from Azeroth and waited until an opportune moment like this. Also, while we're talking about this, remember that Xal'atath's form is literally a disguise. I mean, she only took the Void Elf form. We don't know what she actually looks like. As far as we know, she could be a faceless one or something akin to a Void Lord herself. However, let us return to the topic of her identity and what she actually is. Almost certainly, she's not going to be the main boss or some big bad we're going to face. It's not that she's not all that powerful, but it is the force that she will end up bringing that will be the big bad. I would say the best analogy would be to imagine her as something like either Xal'atath or like the Dreadlords, like a secret service branch of the Void. If you guys played Warcraft 3, you can remember Xal'atath. He was a pretty powerful mage, but he was just a mage that was quite easily defeated. However, through deception, he destroyed half the human kingdoms, he created a giant undead army, he killed the king, he killed the prince, and ultimately ended up summoning the Legion, the real firepower and the actual invasion. This is essentially what Xal'atath is doing, just in an even more intelligent way. So while we managed to defeat Xal'atath very easily, we could defeat Xal'atath easily as well, but that is not going to stop the Void. Now, a few spoilers here, so if you don't want to learn what happens to Dalaran, just skip a minute further into the video, but we actually already know what is hinted and what she's actually doing, and as we know, Xal'atath is pretty efficient in this mission. You guys must have already heard that Dalaran has fallen and was destroyed and Khadgar was killed, and this has been about 100% confirmed with some of the new hints about Khadgar. You may have wondered how did Dalaran fall to the Nerubians, and really, it happened from within. The Council of Dalaran got the new member that ended up being Xal'atath in disguise. She ended up pulling a fast one on us and destroying us from within with the Nerubian invasion and kinda destroying our main center of power that was the mobile city of Dalaran. Dalaran. Here is the most important point and why this is finally something unique for World of Warcraft. It seems like we are going to lose for the first time ever, as we know her mission is successful, as the Void does end up invading us in midnight. The reason she's successful is because she has been laying low on Azeroth for quite a while, and she was literally in our weapon, observing us defeating some of the biggest cosmological threats in the universe. Because of that, she learned how we work. She was literally in our hand, and she learned not to underestimate us. You have definitely not seen Xal'atath calling us petty mortals, your minds can't even comprehend my plans, but she's just kind of doing her plan, doing her thing, covering her tracks, while constantly being one step ahead. As we know from 10.2.7, she already did something in Northrend in Ulduar in the recent Harbinger questline. She's now dealing with that potential 5th Old Guard in Khazgar. Even more interestingly, in Mists of Pandaria Remix, the new lore, like Remix is not just a gameplay thing, it has lore, and it states that they're really trying to observe the timeline and what was really happening in Pandaria, which might just be the perfect time for Xal'atath to yoink that little bit of Yashiraj's essence for her Dark Heart artifact that she's bringing to Khazgar. All in all, this is an ancient being that very likely already destroyed one planet in the past, at least one planet in the past. Incredibly intelligent, incredibly calculated, and she truly is the Harbinger. If you played Warcraft 3, you might remember Arthas having to stop to quell the last messengers. Well, this is something akin to that. She is the messenger, the one that will only open the gate, but not the old god nor the big bad villain that we will defeat as a final boss of a future raid. Thank you for watching. Check out my video on the Light Emperor being evil by clicking on the screen, and check out my video on the cult of Mithras and Roman mythology by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time!